The Katha Upanishad in simple English presented by Swayam Prakash Sharma. The Katha Upanishad is one of the 11 principal Upanishads of the Hindu religion. It is also called Katha Upanishad. It belongs to the Taittiriya school of the Yajurveda and consists of two chapters, each of which has three sections. There are a total of 119 verses in the Upanishads. The Upanishad is about the boy Nachiketa obtaining the knowledge of Brahma, the knowledge of the Supreme, from Yam, the Lord of Death himself. A pious Brahman, Vajasravas, performs a sacrifice and gives as gifts to the priests old and feeble cows. Nachiketa, his son, feels disturbed by this act of his father and questions his motives in giving away old, worn out, and useless cows as gifts to the priests, and says that he be given as gift to some priests, and when he persists, his father in anger gives Nachiketa over to death. In deference to his father's command, Nachiketa goes to the abode of Yam. Yam is not at home and returns only 3 days later. All this while, Nachiketa waits without food or water in the residence of the Lord of Death. When Yam returns, he finds that Nachiketa has been waiting for him for 3 days without food or water. To atone for this lapse of his, Yam offers Nachiketa 3 boons, one for each night he has gone without food and water. It is the third boon of Nachiketa, asking about what happens after death, for enlightenment on the great transition which is called death, and Yam giving Nachiketa that knowledge that is the subject matter and the central theme of the Upanishad. The Upanishad is presented in three parts. Part 1 consists of the introduction and section 1 of chapter 1. Part 2 consists of the remaining two sections of chapter 1, and part 3, the concluding part, consists of the three sections of chapter 3. The Upanishad. Once upon a time, long, long ago, there lived in India, in the line of the great sage Gautam, a teacher by the name of Vajasravas. Vajasravas had a son called Nachiketa. Desiring religious merit and heaven, Vajasravas performed the Vishwajit, literally meaning world-winning sacrifice. At the end of the sacrifice, he gave away all that he owned to the Brahmin priests. Among the gifts being given away to the priests were old cows so weakened by old age and infirmity that they had no strength left in them and had no milk to give. Nachiketa, his son, was watching. Though very young and just a boy, he was very spiritual minded and full of faith. As the old cows were being taken away, he thought, these cows that my father is gifting are absolutely useless. They have no strength left in them. They can barely eat grass or drink water, and they have no milk to give. Surely, these would be a burden for the one receiving them and would not give any benefit or joy to him. And if the one receiving the gift gets no joy, then the one giving such a gift surely cannot expect to get any benefit from the giving of such gifts either. Rather than giving any merit or heaven to my father, which he is expecting, this act of his would give him demerit and hell instead. I must therefore warn my father about this. To gain true merit, gifts that we give should be those that we ourselves prize and not ones for which we ourselves have no use and which are worthless. My father loves and values me very much. Thinking thus, Nachiketa went to his father and said, Father, to whom will you give me? His father ignored him. Nachiketa repeated his question. His father again ignored him. Nachiketa persisted and asked the question a third time. By now, his father was very angry with Nachiketa and in anger said, I give you to death. These words of his father stunned the young Nachiketa and set him thinking. He thought, along with me, my father has many disciples. Among them all, in some matters, I am at the top. I do most of my work without bidding. In some, I am in the middle. I do what I am told to do. I am never at the bottom. I never disobey or refuse to carry out an order. I do not know what my father wishes to accomplish today by giving me over to death. Everyone has to die. Our forefathers before us all died, and those who follow will also die. Just as corn sprouts, ripens, falls, becomes seed, and grows again, so too do mortals grow old and infirm with age. They die and are born again. But I have not grown old, so why should I have to die? However, in deference to the command of his father, Nachiketa reaches the abode of Yam, the lord of death. Yam was not at home. Nachiketa waited 3 days and 3 nights in the home of Yam without food and water before Yam returned. When the lord of death returned to his dwelling, he found that the young Nachiketa had been in his home, waiting for him for 3 days and 3 nights without food or water. He shuddered to think of the plight of those in whose house such a one remains unfed. He recalled the ancient saying, like a god, a seeker of Brahm enters into houses as a guest, and people give him peace offerings and honor him. Disaster and misfortune strikes those people of little understanding in whose house such a one remains unfed. Hope, expectation, friendship, happiness, sacrifices, good works, sons, cattle, and wealth, property and prosperity all go away from such a one. They have to live their lives in misery. Thinking about all this, Yam addresses Nachiketa, O seeker of Brahm, since you, an honored and venerable guest, have stayed in my house unfed for 3 days and 3 nights, I bow to you. Let not this lapse of mine bring misfortune to me. May all be well with me. However, to compensate you for this omission of mine, and for the inconvenience and hardship you have endured, remaining without food and water for 3 days and 3 nights in my house, I grant you 3 wishes. I grant you 3 boons, one for each night of your ordeal. The first boon of Nachiketa. Nachiketa says, very well, sir. The first boon that I ask of you is that when I go back to my home after being released by you, my father should be pleased to see me alive again, returned from death. His anxiety and his sorrow over sending me to death should all be gone. His anger should be appeased, and he should recognize me as his son and greet me with the love, affection, and grace befitting a loved son. The Lord of Death Yam replies, Dear Nachiketa, it shall be as you wish. When you return, your father, as he used to do earlier, on seeing you will recognize you. He will be happy to see you released from the jaws of death and would sleep peacefully at night, through the remainder of his life, his anger gone. This is my first boon to you. The second boon of Nachiketa. Nachiketa says, Lord, we have heard that in the world of heaven there is no death. You are not there. There is no fear. There is no old age, nor is there fear of old age. There is no sorrow. There is no hunger, and there is no thirst. Having crossed over hunger and thirst, and leaving sorrow behind, with all these not being there, there is only happiness and joy there. People always rejoice in the world of heaven. I understand that you, Yam, Lord of Death, know that fire sacrifice which is the aid to heaven and which helps one attain heaven. Please tell me in detail about this fire sacrifice in full faith, and about how those who live in heaven gain immortality, how they gain freedom from death. This is my second boon. Yam replies, You are right, Nachiketa. I know the fire sacrifice which is the aid to heaven and which helps in attaining heaven. I will describe it in detail to you. Listen carefully and learn it from me. Know that the knowledge of this fire is the means of attaining the infinite, limitless world. Know it as the support of the entire universe and as hidden and abiding in the cave of the heart of every person. Yam then went on to describe in detail that fire sacrifice which is the beginning of the world from where the world originated. He described the kind of bricks to be used, the number of bricks to be used, and the way and the manner they should be put together to build the fire altar. Yam then asked Nachiketa if he had understood what was told to him. Nachiketa repeated exactly as Yam had told him to show that he had indeed understood everything perfectly. This pleased the Lord of Death very much, and he said, Nachiketa, I am very pleased with you and give you here and now another special boon. Henceforth, from now onwards, this fire will be known by your name. It will be called the Nachiketa fire. I also give you this chain which can take on many shapes. Yam further says, One who has lit the Nachiketa fire thrice, who has performed the Nachiketa sacrifice thrice, who has attained union with the three, with the mother, with the father, and with the teacher, and who performs the three holy actions of studying the scriptures, of doing worship, and of giving charity to the needy, such a one crosses over birth and death. For then he knows the God of fire, born of Brahma, the all-knowing, the radiant, who always shines, who is adorable, and realizing him, he attains everlasting, eternal peace. He who does these duties, knowing well their full and true meaning, he who, knowing the three duties, builds the altar of the fire sacrifice and performs the Nachiketa sacrifice 3 times, and knowing so, meditates on the fire, such a one throws off the bonds of death. He overcomes sorrows and enjoys and rejoices in the world of heaven. This fire sacrifice leading to heaven, Nachiketa, will henceforth be known by your name. This is my second boon to you. Choose now your third boon, Nachiketa. The third boon of Nachiketa. Nachiketa asks Yam, Lord, there is this doubt with regard to one who departs from this world after death. Some holding that he is, that he lives on, others holding that he is not, that he dies. I would like to know the truth about this. Please instruct me on this knowledge. This is my third boon. Yam, the lord of death, tries to dissuade Nachiketa and replies, Nachiketa, the truth about death is very subtle. It is very difficult to know and understand. Even the gods in heaven had their doubts about this and could not understand it properly. Ask for something else. Ask for another boon and release me from this one. Nachiketa persists. Lord, you yourself say that even the gods in heaven had doubts about this truth, which is not easy to understand. That being so, there could therefore be nothing which could compare to this. Furthermore, where can I get a better teacher than you, the Lord of Death itself, to explain about the mystery of death? Yam continues in his attempt to dissuade Nachiketa. He offers many allurements to him, saying, Nachiketa, choose whatever you want in this world. Choose a long life for yourself, for as many years as you wish. Choose wealth to go with it. Ask for sons and grandsons who will live for 100 years. Ask for as many cattle, elephants, horses, and as much gold as you wish. Ask for as much land as you wish. Ask for any desire that you could possibly want to enjoy in this mortal world. Desires hard to obtain. Become the ruler of a large kingdom. I will give you women of rare beauty and loveliness, with many musical instruments and chariots, to serve and entertain you in this world. Ask for anything, but do not ask about the mystery of death. But Nachiketa was made of sterner stuff. He would not be tempted. He would not be dissuaded from the truth he sought. He said, All that you have offered, O Lord, are transient. They must all wear out and must all end. The vigor of all the senses of men are transient and must also wear out. The senses and strength of men wane and wither away with age. All life, no matter how long, no matter how full, is brief and has to end. Therefore, I have no use for your chariots. I have no use for your women. I have no use for your music and the like. I do not want any of these. You may keep them all. Man can never be satisfied and contented with wealth. Having seen you, we will get all the wealth we desire. But how can we ever enjoy wealth when we know that death is always lurking? How can we live happily knowing that we have to die, knowing that we are in your power? Explain the mystery of death. That alone is the boon that I still choose. Having come in contact with an undecaying immortal like you, and having witnessed immortality, how can a decaying mortal like me, who is subject to old age, decay, and death, ever enjoy a long life where all pleasures are only of the senses, transient and temporary, and which have to pass away and end? Please reveal to me the great mystery of death, whether on passing away a person still lives on or whether he dies. What is there in the great passing on? This is the boon that I, Nachiketa, choose, and none other. End of part 1. Om. Peace, 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 peace.